Sam Harper had been coming to Mountain View Comic Camp since he himself was a lanky, sketchpad-clutching 12-year-old, and after 12 summers on staff, he could predict the flow of the week almost as easily as he could ink a perfect speed line. The comics track always hit its stride by Wednesday. The cosplay track became a glitter-bombed carnival by Thursday, and the tabletop gamers, tucked into the pine-scented Rec Lodge on the hill, started their marathon campaigns on Friday night and emerged bleary-eyed in time for Sunday checkout. What Sam hadn't predicted was that this year's guest instructor for the tabletop track, celebrated designer Theo T.K. Kellerman, would die before the dice stopped rolling. But that came later. The camp bus coughed up 43 campers on a breezy Monday morning, and Sam stood with a clipboard in one hand and a rolled banner in the other. A dozen staffers unfurled the banner as the kids trudged past. "Welcome to Mountain View Comic Camp, where your ideas level up." Phones flashed, parents waved, and the smell of pine and sunscreen blended into the annual memory soup. Sam swept the roster. Cabin Laurel got the youngest comic artists, Cabin Aspen the cosplayers, Cabin Juniper the tabletoppers. Juniper would be ground zero for strategy debates, collectible card swaps, and the obsessive rattling of dice cups well past lights out. This year's campers had another draw. Kellerman was premiering an early prototype of his unreleased epic fantasy wargame, Sovereigns and Serpents. He'd threatened, on social media at least, to hand out a limited set of custom D12s, each face etched with a miniature dragon, for whoever impressed him at camp. The lodge buzzed with the rumor before Sam even pinned the week's chore chart to the bulletin board. Kellerman arrived on Tuesday afternoon, tumbling out of a rideshare with 3 rolling crates of game boards and a messenger bag stitched with enamel pins. He was a wiry man in his mid-40s, eyes permanently aglow as if he'd just drawn the perfect hand. At dinner, he asked for extra coffee, signed a cascade of camper sketchbooks, and unveiled the schedule for Friday's overnight playtest. "Bring your best tactics and your fairest spirit," he said, tapping the table for emphasis. "We write the rules, but the dice decide the story." Sam watched the kids soak up every syllable. He liked Kellerman instantly. It was hard not to. The man spoke in campaign metaphors the way other people spoke in small talk, never belittled the younger players, and laughed like every joke had rolled a natural 20. By lights out, Sam thought, this week's going to sing. Wednesday morning snagged slightly. Kellerman requested a private storage locker for a prototype component. Camp director Margot Dacey handled it, but Sam noticed the tense whisper between them. He chalked it up to designer secrecy. NDAs were the new friendship bracelets in the game industry. Still, something about the way Margot locked the shed, checking the padlock twice, pricked the back of Sam's mind. Friday came, heat shimmering above the lake. After lunch, Kellerman carried 2 leather dice cups and a black velvet bag into the lodge. Campers craned for a glimpse of the rumoured dragon dice. Kellerman kept them hidden, waving off questions with a magician's wink. All would be revealed at midnight once the campaign hit its final showdown. Until then, standard dice only. Sam drew kitchen duty that evening, but slipped into the lodge at 11. He perched behind a sofa, notebook open, soaking in the scene. 6 tables of kids, counsellors, and a couple of off-site industry folks formed mirrored battle lines across the room. Candles flickered in hurricane jars, and Kellerman strode between them like a quest giver, narrating victories, tweaking rule ambiguities, scribbling revisions. Just before midnight, he clapped. "A moment of suspense, heroes. Time to unveil the worms." From the velvet bag he poured chrome-glinting dice into a shallow wooden tray. 11 D12s etched with winged serpents coiled around the numerals. Collective gasp. "Roll high," Kellerman said. "The dragons like to perch on towers." He handed the tray to a circle of advanced players. They each chose a die, like knights receiving sigils. Kellerman plucked the lone die left in the tray, walked to table 2, and rolled for the enemy commander's attack. The die bounced, tack, 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 and settled on 12. Cheers erupted. He tossed again. Another 12, a third, 12. "Whoa," muttered the counsellor, running that table. 3 crits, Kellerman chuckled, twisting his wrist flamboyantly. The commander is favoured by fate, it seems. He was rolling one more time when his face pinched. The die tumbled from his fingers, clacked onto the pine floor, spun, and stopped. 12. Kids whooped until Kellerman swayed, his eyes unfocused, breath rasping. He braced on the table but missed, shoulder thudding against the edge. Card decks scattered. A hush fell as he crumpled, knocking a candle jar. Wax splashed onto the game map. Sam vaulted the sofa, heart racing. He turned Kellerman over, clammy skin, laboured breathing. "Someone find Margot," he barked, "and the nurse, now." Panicked footsteps hammered the porch boards. Kellerman's lips moved without sound. Then his body gave a frightening lurch and went still. Sam felt for a pulse. Nothing. In the candle glow, the dragon die, still on 12, stared up like a judgment. The sheriff's deputies, called in from town, worked fast. By dawn, Kellerman's body was gone, the lodge sealed with yellow tape. The official story relayed to parents in a mass email: cardiac arrest. There'd be grief counselling and a modified camp schedule for the remaining 36 hours. Sam lay awake on his bunk, replaying the moment Kellerman reached for that final roll. Strained breath, almost like choking. Not a heart seizure, Sam thought. Something else. He'd seen anaphylaxis once, back in college, when a roommate with a nut allergy tasted the wrong brownie. The rasping sounded eerily similar. But what allergen? And why now? Saturday breakfast felt like a funeral repast. Campers spooned cereal in near silence. Nobody even compared superhero t-shirts. All tabletop sessions were suspended. Margot gathered counsellors in the art shed, sweat beading at her temples despite the AC. "Sheriff wants interviews with everyone who was in the lodge last night," she said. "They're also confiscating the new dice. Let's support the kids and keep speculation to a minimum. Respect, okay?" She looked pointedly at Sam, as though expecting pushback. He nodded. Respect, sure. But silence bred rumours, and rumours bred fear. He had eyes. The campers who'd handled the dice were white-knuckling water bottles, checking their palms as if poison might seep through skin, like narrative retcon. If this really was an accident, clarity would help. If it wasn't, clarity would protect. Sam's gut said the game wasn't over. After lunch, the deputies interviewed Sam. He described Kellerman's collapse, the 3 perfect 12s, the choking breath. Deputy Ruiz took notes, inscrutable. Sam almost mentioned anaphylaxis, but held back. He needed evidence first. Ruiz finished. "Appreciate your time. One more thing. Did you notice anything unusual about those dice? Weight, texture?" Sam hesitated. "Didn't handle them. But 3 12s in a row. Sounds loaded." Ruiz raised an eyebrow. "We'll see." He closed the notebook. That night, the campers gathered for movie marathon in the amphitheatre, plunging into animation classics, while counsellors patrolled the perimeter with flashlights. Sam slipped away, heading uphill toward the tool shed Margot had locked on Wednesday. The padlock now wore police evidence tape, but Sam ignored the twinge of guilt and finessed the hasp with a thin palette knife. The door creaked. Inside, cardboard tubes, spare easels, and a black hardshell case bearing Kellerman's embossed initials. The deputies probably hadn't reached the shed yet. Sam opened the case. Rows of foam slots cradled metal dice, 30 at least, in polished steel, copper, and a darker alloy, each stamped with the dragon motif. But something was wrong. Half the dice had drill holes patched with tiny plugs. Beside them lay a micro hand drill, weights and adhesive. A machinist's cheat kit, loaded dice. Sam picked a copper D12, noting a faint seam. He plucked another, unmodified, lighter by a hair. Kellerman must have been modifying them here, but had he made his own killer dice, or had someone else tampered with them after he finished? His phone buzzed. A text from fellow counsellor Jaslyn. "Where are you? Margot looking for you." Sam placed 2 dice, one loaded, one normal, in his pocket, sealed the case, relocked, replaced the tape as best he could, and jogged downhill. Sunday dawned red as a pulp comic skyline. Camp checkout was noon, parents already queued outside the office. Sam found Margot on the porch, pinching her coffee like it had wronged her. "Sheriff's on the way back," she said. "Preliminary autopsy points to anaphylactic shock. Theo had a severe nut allergy. One of the campers saw him pop an energy bar mid-game. Might have been contaminated." Sam exhaled. He wasn't crazy. "Where's the rapper?" "Gone. Probably tossed in panic. They'll test the dice, too. But Sam, don't start your own investigation, okay? Kids need calm." Calm wasn't the same as complacent. He thanked her and drifted to the picnic tables where the Juniper Cabins campers waited for pick-up. He'd taught them perspective drawing on Tuesday. Now their notebooks drooped like busted sails. Among them sat Dylan Perez, the 15-year-old rumoured to be Kellerman's favourite for a summer internship. Sam folded onto the bench. "Tough break, huh?" Dylan shrugged, eyes rimmed red. "I can't stop thinking I jinxed him. I'm the one who loaned him my dice cup before the last roll." Sam's pulse hopped. "Your cup? Did he use your dice too?" "No, he said he had a special one." Dylan gestured vaguely. "But I gave him the cup after his coffee spilled." Sam pictured the moment, the die rolling from a borrowed cup. "Do you still have the cup?" Dylan pulled it from his backpack. Faux leather, stitched seams, new except for a faint whitish residue along the rim. "Mind if I borrow it a minute?" Sam asked. The camp's small art studio had a black light box used for fluorescent ink demonstrations. Sam powdered a cotton swab across the cup's rim and the loaded die from his pocket, then slipped them beneath the lamp. Both glowed faintly. He fetched a jar of peanut dust from the kitchen, left over from trail mix marked allergen, and swabbed that, comparing glow patterns. Perfect match. So the killer dusted the dice, or cup, with peanut powder, knowing Kellerman's fatal allergy. He'd roll, lick a finger, eat something with bare hands, as gamers often did, and that would be enough. But why use loaded dice, too? Unless the peanut dust masked the real motive, sabotage of the game results. Maybe the killer wanted the NPC commander's attacks to crit every time, ensuring the playtest data bombed. Ruin the designer's reputation, then erase him permanently. 2 birds, 1 die. Who benefited? Sam's mental suspect list shuffled. 1, Ava Grimm, rising indie designer, had bristled Friday afternoon when Kellerman dismissed her scenario tweak. She'd borrowed Kellerman's keycard to fetch acrylic tokens. Plenty of time near the toolshed. 2, Roy Bannon, corporate rep from Titan Forge Games, rumored to be negotiating exclusive rights to sovereigns and serpents. Kellerman was waffling. A dead designer couldn't sign elsewhere, and loaded dice making his final demo look fraudulent could tank the IP's value, letting Titan Forge scoop it cheaply. 3. Margot herself, though Sam hesitated to believe it. Mountain View survived on guest star publicity. Killing a headliner was the opposite of good press. Sam breathed, focusing. Level the playing field, he told himself. Kellerman's phrase. Games thrive on balance. So do stories. Right now, the story favored the killer. Deputy Ruiz returned mid-morning, face tight. He called counselors to the dining hall. Parents milled on the porch, uneasy. Ruiz addressed them. New information suggests Mr. Kellerman's death may not have been natural. We'll need cooperation. Murmurs erupted. Kids clung to guardians. Sam stepped forward, heart thumping. Deputy, I can help. Ruiz looked wary, but gestured him aside. Sam laid out his evidence, the loaded dice from the shed, the cup with peanut residue glowing under black light, Dylan's statement. Ruiz's posture shifted from dismissal to alert. Can you show me this shed? Ruiz asked. They hiked uphill. Ruiz photographed the lock, removed the tape, opened the case. When he saw the drill and weights, he whistled. Somebody planned an armory. But not Kellerman, Sam said. Notice the initials on the case? TK, sure, but the drill bits are still oily. Fresh use yesterday. Kellerman was in the lodge all evening. Someone else modified these while he ran the session. Ruiz squinted. Someone with access to the shed and knowledge of his allergy. Sam nodded. I think the dice's performance, those crit 12s, was meant to humiliate him publicly. The peanut dust guaranteed he wouldn't live to defend himself. Ruiz radioed for backup. By 1:30, 3 more cruisers sat outside the mess hall. Ruiz questioned Ava Grimm first. She admitted seeing the shed. Theo wanted feedback on weight distribution, she said, but denied drilling anything. Next came Roy Bannon. The corporate rep sweated through his blazer, insisting he'd been networking, not sabotaging. But Ruiz unearthed an NDA draft on Bannon's laptop dated 2 days earlier, promising Titan Forge exclusive rights upon termination of independent ownership. Termination sounded ugly now. Neither interrogation cracked. Sam found Jazz Lynn and borrowed her smartphone microscope attachment, a gadget from the Science Art crossover workshop. Back at the shed, he took magnified photos of the adhesive on the plugged dice and of residue beneath his fingernails from the cup rim. The adhesives matched, clear epoxy flecked with silver. Bannon's travel case in the cabins, Sam recalled, was plastered with leftover silver epoxy from quick-fixing broken miniatures. Ruiz was skeptical until Sam suggested a fingerprint swap. Lab results would take time, but Ruiz cornered Bannon again. Faced with the epoxy link, Bannon folded like collapsible scenery. He'd discovered Kellerman was second-guessing the Titan Forge deal after hearing from indie darling Ava Grimm. Afraid of losing a multi-million license, Bannon rigged a set of dice to force critical fails in Kellerman's prototype, planning to reveal the flawed playtest later and claim the design was broken, making the IP cheaper. The peanut dust? That, Bannon insisted, was insurance. If Kellerman died, Titan Forge could purchase the orphaned game at a state sale for pennies. Bannon swore he only meant to trigger a hospital visit, not death. Ruiz cuffed him anyway, reading rights. As the cruiser pulled away, Sam felt no triumph, only the dull ache of seeing a passion twisted into a weapon. Checkout stretched into late afternoon because parents and campers lingered, processing the whirlwind. Sam noticed the Juniper kids huddled, dice bags untouched. He strode over. "A lot happened we can't change," he began, voice steady. "But we can change how the story ends." Kellerman believed in fair play. Right now, the last roll on record is those loaded 12s. That's not the legacy he deserves. Dylan looked up. "So what do we do?" Sam reached into his pocket and produced the unmodified dragon die he'd saved from the shed. "We roll again. Honest this time." The campers formed a circle on the dusty path. Sam offered the die to the youngest, a shy girl named Lena. Hands trembling, she flicked her wrist. The die arced, glittering in sunset, and landed on a humble 7. Cheers erupted, relief-filled, cleansing. They passed the die around, numbers scattered normal as rainfall. When it came to Sam, he rolled last, 12, a pure, unweighted crit. The kids laughed, some crying at the same time, because fate, when not meddled with, had perfect comic timing. Cleanup ran late, and Sam stayed to help Margot stack folding chairs in the lodge. The candles were gone, replaced by bright LED lanterns. On a whim, Sam laid the honest dragon die at the center of table 2, atop the scorched map where wax had spilled. "For him," he murmured. Margot rested a hand on his shoulder. "You leveled the playing field, Sam. Kellerman would have approved." Sam shrugged, suddenly exhausted. "Games are supposed to bring people together, not this." "True," she said, "but stories need guardians. Thanks for guarding ours." Outside, engines rumbled down the gravel road as the last cars departed. Dusk folded over Mountain View, cicadas starting their chorus. Sam pocketed his sketchbook, its margin filled with hurried notes and tiny dragon heads. He'd doodled them the night before Kellerman died, planning to show the designer for feedback. Maybe someday he'd print them on fair dice and call the set the Harper Dragons, tribute and reminder. Because in every campaign, someone must watch the balance, call foul when the rules bend, and, when necessary, roll again until the story comes up right.